Hey everybody, sorry I'm late. I shoo aftermath of youth group tonight. How is everybody tonight? I'm gonna give everybody a chance to get in here and see who we got. I'll tell you what, folks, I'm getting old trying to keep up with those kids in youth group. Holy shnikes. Wow, what is going on with my blind here behind me? Why is Tina and Mike watching from Lima Memorial ER tonight? Tina and Mike, what is going on? Enlighten us, Tina and Mike. What's happening? I'm going to give some shout outs here in a second, but I want to know what's going on, why we are in the ER. So, all right. Okay. Wow, I'm down to 8. Did I get kicked off? Am I still here? I think I'm still here. Why am I losing people? I'm down to 8. There are 8 people here now. I'm here. All right. Tina in pain. Maybe kidney infection. Oh my heavens, Mike. I'm so sorry. Yeah, let me know about that. Drop me a text and let me know, Tina and Mike, what's going on with that. I've had lots of stuff happen to me, but I never had that. So, but I've heard not great things. So, hopefully you guys get that under control. So, yes, yeah. Prayers for Mike and Tina and Mike Bird tonight. What about Skylar? Skylar here tonight? All right. Okay. I'm going to give some shout outs and I got some announcements to make. So who we got here? Hey, Chuck and Bev DePoy. Hi, Bev. How you guys doing? Joining us all the way from the big metropolis of Wapak. Appreciate you guys tuning in tonight. Dave and Amy Jessen are in the house. Appreciate seeing you guys. Scott Moran, Scott and Jan, it was so great to see you guys on Sunday. It was so awesome that you were here. And I'm glad to hear dialysis is going better. And you couldn't be more right. Livestream is great for what it is, but it ain't church. I mean, it ain't like being in church is what I mean. And I hope you all show up on Sunday. The rest of the lights were hung today, and Josh was down there playing with them. I'll tell you what, it's going to be quite an experience down there. So I hope you guys will be a part of that. In fact, even those of you who watch online, I'm pretty sure you'll be able to tell the difference. But it was really something tonight. Josh was showing me a little bit about what it can do, and it's gonna be quite a deal. So yeah, Teresa's been here last couple weeks, and Teresa made some cookies that were out of this world this week. So appreciate that too. Eric Gurman, how you doing, buddy? Did you guys get out on the towpath and get your walk in tonight? It's really nice out there. So hope you got a chance to be outside and enjoy that with you and your family. Let's see here. Oh, Bev, you sent a card to Teresa. Good for you. Amy, how you doing? Good to see you tonight. And let's see. Who else have I not shouted out here? Hey, Suze. I don't see you, but I'm glad you can see me. Prayers for Tina and Mike. Great. Yes, and it was beautiful weather today. So why are there only 10 of you here tonight? Where is everybody? I was hoping we get a few more out here tonight. Goodness gracious. So yeah, we're gonna go over some stuff in the book, but I want to make an announcement. As many of you know, we're coming to the end of the Lenten study next week. We got 7 days of Luke left. Luke left. So we'll be finishing up on the study on the Apostle Peter next Wednesday. And I think given the fact that our crowds have slowed down here significantly and COVID is now finally looks like it's going to be behind us here before too long, I think what we're going to do is we're going to go on hiatus for the live streams over the summer. just because, as you can see here tonight, our crowds are not real good, and I think we're going to go on hold. Give me a chance to get some topics worked up and get some things. Live streams will definitely be back next winter when the weather is bad. Also, over the summer, we're going to have periodic live streams. I'm not giving it up completely. Well, my plan is I'll watch the weather, and if there's a Wednesday night that it looks like the weather, like tonight, is beautiful, I can't compete with this. I'm going to if the weather's going to be raining or something, I'll schedule a live stream and I'll send a text out about that so that you'll know on Tuesday whether or not we're having it. But so we'll do periodic live streams over the summer, but I'm not going to go every week just because people are doing other things. So I want you guys to be able to get outside and enjoy some weather over the summer. So we'll be here tonight. We'll be here next week. Now, next week, then, since it's going to be our grand finale of live streams, we'll do something special. We're going to have the one of those things like we did for I think it was for Christmas, where we had gave away a bunch of prizes and did a bunch of stuff. So that's what we're going to do next Wednesday. So we're going to spend half the time, finishing up the lesson. But as you can imagine, a lot of the stuff we're going to be looking at next week is going to be Easter stuff, and I don't want to give away all the thunder for Sunday. So next week we're just going to have a fun week. I'm going to give away a bunch of prizes and some different things. I'm going to hit up. I don't know. I have some cool stuff here. I'll find some cool stuff and give it away and just have a time just to have some fun and on next Wednesday. So hope you'll be here for our grand finale celebration. These live streams have been going on for over a year now, because it was March last year when I started, and you all remember I went 3 months. I think it was 3 months every night because of COVID shut down, and so every night at 8:00 we were all here together. You guys remember that? And as a way to try to keep us connected, at least as connected as I could, given the situation. So I don't think we need that anymore because the world's opening back up. So starting next week, we'll go back to, or we'll just go to periodic live streams, a couple over the summer, and definitely when the time changes and it starts getting dark and the snow starts flying next year, which none of us looking forward to that. We'll have some live streams come back. So they're not done. They're just going to go on break for a while, especially since our crowds are dwindling so much now. So anyways, that's what we'll do next week. I hope we can get a bunch of people to come out and join us. We'll just have a fun week where we just kind of interact with each other and ask some questions and just have a good time and just enjoy each other's company. So, all right. Let's get back on the right day here. All right. So I'll get my book out here, get my keyboard out of the way. All right. Did I see Animal Cracker Blizzards? Who's talking about Animal Cracker Blizzards over here? And Eric, I did get out to enjoy it today. You know what? If I found out everybody was over getting those Animal Cracker Blizzards, Mike, I would be less upset about it. So I didn't know they were back. So I guess that is that time of year. So yeah, Teresa and Eric, thank you for that. So all right. Well, let's talk a little bit about this week's readings. I'm going to start on page 30 and see what we can do here. So, they're not back yet, man. Getting my hopes all up there, Mike. Don't worry, I'm sure they'll be back here before too long. But I guess summer hasn't officially sprung on us yet. So, all right. Well, we're going to page 30, and they're going to continue working through story Peter here. So we're starting at the Last Supper. So we're actually starting on Monday, Thursday. Yes, I know we're not quite there as far as the calendar yet, but we're going to be looking at Monday, Thursday here in this reading for tonight. And a couple of things about this. And it's getting warm in here. That over there. A couple of things about tonight is what we have here is when Jesus established the Last Supper. He basically was commandeering the Jewish Seder meal. So any of you good Bible scholars out there know that the Passover dinner was there's a whole background to that, which I'm not getting into tonight. But along with this meal, there was a liturgy that went with this. There was a bunch of words that were supposed to be said, and a bunch of things that were supposed to be established. Much like today, the Lord's Prayer. If I was going to say, hey, tonight, guys, we're going to pray the Lord's Prayer, and y'all know that, right? Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, so on and so forth. But imagine in the middle of that, I changed the words. For a minute, let's not even worry about what I changed them to. That's a very familiar thing that we say. It has a cadence. Everything's there. And it's all about getting things together. But if I change the Lord's Prayer, you guys would notice. But that's exactly what happened here. As a part of the Seder meal, there was a liturgy that went with that. There was a certain set of words, a certain set of things that were supposed to be said, and all that stuff. And it was expected, and that's what everyone thought was going to happen. And Jesus changed that when he started saying, he started giving thanks for bread and breaking it, saying, "This is my body." And their disciples are like, "Does he not know how this goes?" So he changed it up, and it would be just as shocking. And I'm not saying they were upset about it, so to speak, but it certainly would have gotten their attention when they were like, "Well, this is not how this goes," and that would have been a big switch up for them. So Jesus changed up the words and really got their attention. And I want you to realize what it was he was changing the words to. And got a hi Cheryl. Hi, Skylar. I was asking about you just a minute ago. Glad you showed up. So he changed the words, and let's notice what he changed them to. He basically set the stage for people to have this sacred meal, to have this time of remembrance, to have communion in remembrance of him, which is the big part of communion, is we do it to remember Jesus. Just like we do other things at other times of the year. We have Thanksgiving dinner and we remember, and we have sauerkraut and sausage at New Year's, and then we have what's some other times of the year? A barbecue at 4th of July, chocolates for Valentine's Day. Those certain things, we do that because it's part of the tradition, and then we remember, whatever the celebration is. Well, that's basically what Jesus did here. He said, whenever you take the moment to pause, I want you to do so. I want you to remember me and remember what I'm about to do for you and what's about to happen. And what a powerful thing. I'm going to throw this out there because I'm not doing all the talking tonight. What are some things that you do in remembrance? Some things you do in memorial, or something that you do to remind yourself or that you remember, some things that are going on. And while you're typing those out, I'll share one, just something I have in my house that reminds me. So if you have something in your, ham for New Year's, Amy, it's exactly right. What's something that you do in remembrance? And I'll tell you one thing I have. My house, my house has 2 stories, but I literally never go upstairs, and there isn't any. The only thing I have upstairs is I have a window air conditioner unit on the floor. There's literally nothing else upstairs. All the stuff in my house is all downstairs. But in my stairwell that goes upstairs, above my stairwell is like this shelf. It's not really a shelf. It's like a big platform, I guess. And it's really, really nice. And I have a little sheep up there that has been up there since I haven't even moved in yet. And that little sheep was a sheep that I had when I was, it was a baby. It's old. Had it a long time. I was just a little guy when I had that sheep. And I always have that sheep there. And when I used to sleep upstairs prior to moving downstairs when I got sick last summer, because my bed was upstairs until I got sick last summer. I'd always look at that little sheep, and it would just remind me. It would be a reminder of, an earlier time in my life when I was little and things were simple, which is not not like my life now. Jeez. But it's just a little thing I had there that reminds me of a time when I didn't deal with all the things I deal with today. And even at youth group tonight, we had a little issue, and just nothing is easy anymore. And it's always nice. I had that sheep there to remind me that there was a time that I got to have my Aunt Kate and my parents watch out for me, and I just have always had that little sheep has been in every house I've ever been in, and it's something I have, and I have that as a reminder of what what that's just what it's there for, I guess. Yeah, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Let's see here. Ham for New Year's, Amy. That's good. Praying, Mike. We recommend praying at all times. Bev says, watch out for crosses on the evergreens to come out. Really? I didn't know that was a thing. How about that? Visit relatives' graves on Memorial Day, Dave and Amy. That's an excellent example of what I'm talking about. That's an excellent example. Very good. Nativity. Teresa puts out a nativity at Christmas. My mom always put out while I was growing up. Sure, reminds us of bygone times, things like that. That's good. Picture of Jesus above the TV as a sacred place in your house. I appreciate that. Yeah, so and that's a good thing. I'd say having a picture of Jesus in your house is a darn good thing to do. So good for you, Eric, and that's a good reminder. Yeah, every Easter on the fir trees. I did not know that was a thing. How about that? So, yeah, and these things are there as reminders, and just like my phone, I set my phone to beep at me all the time and tell me what to do because I can never seem to remember anything anymore. It's the same thing. You have those things in your house, or you have those things in your life, or certain times of the year you associate certain meals, certain things. And like that little sheep I was telling you about at my house, it's there because it reminds me of a much simpler time in my life instead of the just sometimes crushingly complicated life that we deal with. And I know that I'm not saying woe is me. Y'all are there. I get it. And sometimes it's nice to remember there was a time when life was a lot more simple than what it is now. So good. Those things are reminders. That's very important. And that's what Jesus set up. Now we have an established practice that we now associate the bread and the cup with the body and blood of Christ. And you want to know how important that is to have that? Be in church on Easter Sunday morning. I'll be glad to explain it to you. So good deal. So the meaning of remembrance, friends, remembering is very important. And there's a lot of things out there of distraction. And every once in a while, we need some things to ground us and to help us to be able to know what's going on. So Tom and Marge Tangeman, picture Jesus knocking on the door. I know that one. By your front door. Is that the picture, that famous picture where there's no doorknob on the door because it has to be open from the inside? Marge, I remember that picture. I'm just curious if that's the one you're talking about. Christmas Eve, leave the nativity light on the entire night for remembrance of his birth. Yes. See, those traditions and those symbols can become extremely powerful because we associate so much with them. Okay, Marge. Yeah, we associate so much with them about how life is and how important it is to know that there's more to life than what's happening at this moment. There is a was, and there is a will be always. And, a lot of times we can get real distracted by, what was that we were unhappy about or what was that we wished still was. Or we can get real distracted thinking about, the future, and our what if becomes way louder and way bigger than our what is. And you got to watch out for that because that can ruin what's going on. And remembering and being reminded can go a long way to helping you with keeping things in perspective. That's why I have that little sheep in my house, because it just reminds me of the time when I wasn't trying to save the day all the time. So, all right. Now, very, very interesting to me, because I am interested in such things, is we go from this day's reading on page 30. Turn over to page 31. You'll notice page 30 ends at verse 20. Page 31 picks up at verse 24. So let's find out, well, what exactly happens if we fail to remember Jesus? or don't keep our perspective in the right place, or we fail to heed the reminder, or don't pay attention to the reminder, we immediately fall off the apple cart. Just like Peter and the boys do here. They immediately start the same argument they've already had. We've already read about them having this argument as who's the man? Who is the man in all this? Because that's what we always argue about. Who is the man? Who gets to be boss? Who's the best? And you can almost hear Jesus going, oh, for crying out loud. My little note that I wrote on here is pathetic but predictable. It's pathetic that they got that upset about who was the best, because that's not an argument you can win. Think about that. It's not. Whenever you get in an argument of who's the best, and we all get in that argument from time to time, you cannot win the argument. There is no winning the argument. You do not prove that you're the best by winning an argument. You prove you're the best by what you do. Your actions prove that. And, your bravery and your courage and your strength proves that. Not winning an argument doesn't prove that. And so it's an unwinnable argument, because even by winning, you lose the argument. That argument can only result in who's the least bad. I mean, seriously, you win the argument, all you prove is you're least bad. You haven't really done anything of any value. So that's the argument they decided to get in. So Jesus says, okay, here's my body broken. Here's my blood shed. Do this in remembrance of me. And they're all like, yes, and I'm the best, and you guys are stupid. And Jesus is going, for crying out loud, guys, are we for real with this? I mean, you almost can literally hear the slapping of Jesus on his forehead at this point, because he just said, I want you to do this in remembrance of me. And basically everybody around the table is going, yeah, and everybody better remember me along with them. And I'm just going, guys, I'm ashamed for the disciples, but I don't need to get all high and mighty, because I know I've done this too. Good grief. How many of us have not done this? The answer is none of us. Getting in this argument about who's the best, who's the man, who is whatever. And what a shame. The very first 12 guys who ever received communion ever. One of the most meaningful moments in our worship services is the idea that we get to step out of our pew, walk down the aisle, and go receive communion. It's awesome. It's incredible. It's powerful. And the first 12 guys that did it, 11 of them got an argument about who is the greatest, and one of them went and sold Jesus out for 30 pieces of silver. So, even with this great and powerful image and this great and powerful experience and this great gift that Jesus gave to them, they still managed to screw it up. And look, I can get all high and mighty, and I can be like, geez, if I'd have been there, I'd have gotten her. No, I wouldn't have. I wouldn't have either, because nobody does. We get into this argument all the time. And, I don't know if I have anything more to say about this. Anybody got a comment on this day? Anybody write anything down on page 31? Anybody make any notes on page 31? I'll just say, while you guys are thinking about that, don't bother. Don't expend the energy ever of getting in the who's the greatest argument. Don't waste your time with it. Just don't, because it's an argument you can never win. Because even if you win, you lose. Because you cannot prove that you are valuable. You cannot prove that you are the best. You cannot prove that you're contributing the most in an argument. Your actions have to speak for you at this point. And to try to do it any other way is it's active failure. So Teresa says, I think all the disciples' failure, shortcomings, selfishness will ultimately benefit them after the reality of risen Christ. That very concept, Teresa, is going to come up in a later reading. So I know you read all your stuff, so you're thinking ahead, which is great. And I agree with you 10,000% that it's the failure that propels them forward, which that's a discussion we're going to have, because it's so important for us to remember. And our youth group lesson last week, which I know you guys weren't here, but the youth group lesson last week was about how we can allow Jesus to still be in our lives, even if we're not perfect. And I can hardly, as Sue says, I can hardly imagine how it would have been. Yes, we can imagine because that would have been really a powerful experience. I'd like to think that I wouldn't have gotten in this fight, but I know better. Uh, I am probably one of the most aggressive people that you know. And if this challenge came up, I'm going to fight this down to the last man because I just know that about myself. And you know, it, what a blessing they missed, and I would have missed it too. I'm just thankful that they got their act together, that Jesus maintained his faith in these guys, and they changed the world. The most unlikely of candidates. So Scott says, remember, it's not where you start, but where you end up, buddy. I will give a big old amen to that statement. And that is very true. And I would add to that, it's not about the course that you traveled either. It's about the destination and how much you are fighting your way toward that goal. And that's very important. Amy says, all the disciples were acting like stupid idiots, which means I fit right in because I've been known to be kind of idiotic myself. So, yes, it's a very, very good reminder to all of us that even the most unqualified amongst us has a contribution to make. So, all right. I don't know what's going on. It's getting warm in here. I'm going to open my window. Hold on a second. You guys are just going to have to put up with this being not even. Also, you're probably going to hear the cars outside now, but all right. All right. This is to Teresa's point just a moment ago. The very last line of my comment here, where it says, it makes one wonder if the victory would have happened at all without the failure. And, well, hey, Parker, thanks for tuning in, buddy. Everybody give a what up to Parker. He's doing a great job with the youth group, and we are lucky as a church to have him serving. So everybody give a what up to Parker. So, all right. So this is one where Peter, Parker, we're on page 32, buddy. This is the one where Peter gets to have his great declaration. I'm ready to fight this to the end of the earth, and I'm ready to do all this stuff and be all these things and get this all together. And Jesus is like, no, you're not. No, you're not. You think you are, and I sincerely believe that you want to be, but you ain't. And that's and I mentioned this in my comment for today, is that it's got to be a little hurtful, because I know there are times in my life that I gave a kind of a rah speech and let's go do this, and I'm trying to fire up the troops and get my staff behind me and get my church behind me and get the district of the conference behind me and get all this support and all this stuff, and then it's really kind of a hit then when the person I need to really be behind me says, yeah, you're going to screw this up. I mean, that's what happens here. That is what happens in this reading. And we all know that that's right. And we know that's exactly what happens. But man, what a punch in the mouth to poor Peter. And again, the guy's not perfect. I'm not cutting him any slack. You guys have been listening for the last half hour. I'm not cutting Peter any slack. He did make mistakes. But, man, it just comes off real harsh here. And I admit that sometimes our mentors have to be a little hard on us. Again, I get that. But, jeez. To go from, I'm ready to die for you, and Jesus is like, yeah, you're not. I know you want to be, but you're not. And it just, I kind of compare this to the to the way the world is today. The kind of everybody gets a trophy and everybody does a great job and nobody loses, and the kind of world we live in now. We don't have people speak to us this way anymore, at least not often. And, I'm not going to stand here. I'm not going to sit here and insult any of your intelligence by telling you that I've never been hard on somebody before, because I have been, if I felt they needed it. True story. I probably have told this story in a live stream before, so you probably already heard this, but I had a guy in my office years ago who was struggling with drug addiction. And he was trying to stay clean. He didn't think he could do it. And so I told him, I threw him up against the wall and I said, look, let me be real plain with you. If I find out you're high, I'm going to break your skull with my bare hands. Probably wasn't the right way to deal with that, but I was really mad. And I already said, I'm one of the most aggressive people you know. And let me tell you something. If you're in a bad place in life and things are not going well, you don't want the person who everybody gets a trophy and everything is always peaches and cream and hunky-dory. You don't want that person coming after you. I liken this back to my firefighting days. When I was a firefighter, you don't want the nice guy coming in the building to drag you out. You want the meanest, most aggressive person you can get coming in after you, because that's the person that's going to get you out. Now, you might get drug out by your head. That may very well happen, but you're going to be outside of the building. And trust me, when the house is burning down, that's exactly what you want. You don't want the nice guy to pat you on the head. It's like, oh, am I going too fast toward the exit? Okay, well, let's slow down and hold our breath. That's not what you want. You want the biggest, strongest, meanest guy who could come in there after you. That's kind of my approach to life. There are times, and look, I'm not saying I'm rude all the time. Well, maybe I am, but the idea is that there are times that you need somebody to talk turkey to you. And if you don't have that, there may be a time that you're going to stand there and you're going to get crushed by something. And I really feel like that's what Jesus was giving to Peter here. Tough talk, dad talk. It's the way dads ought to talk to their kids, at least some of the time. Not all the time, but at least sometimes. And I know my dad sure did. And, to give it to you like it was. My mom probably more than my dad even. And that helps us have a perspective on on ourselves that's realistic and healthy and accurate. And you're not going to get that by somebody who blows sunshine on you all the time. You're just not. And I really feel like we today, you and me today, are beneficiaries of the fact that Jesus was kind of hard on Peter at times. I think I'm giving you this passage as an example. Jesus knew his time was real short at this point. And he had to get Peter. He had to get Peter there. And bravado was not going to do it. False courage was not going to do it. Jesus was going to have to, again, talk turkey to him and get him where he needed to be. And you're right, Teresa. Tough talk comes out of the heart that cares. That's right. I care about you enough that I don't care about how you feel. And I know that's like, in this day and age, yeah, friends, in this day and age, people who really care about you, again, they don't go out of their way to hurt your feelings or be a jerk to you. That's not what I'm saying. But every once in a while, we all need somebody to say, you know what? You screwed it up. And your tough talk and your bravado and your stupidity doesn't need to go on. And we all need that. We all need people to do that. And, I've had people nail me on it through the years, and so have you. And we're better because of it, even though it's not real fun at the time. Skylar, you're absolutely right. Truth hurts, and it does hurt. But it hurts a lot less than reality, let me tell you. And, some of these, you all knew I was going here, right? Some of these snowflakes that are out there today who, geez, are just living life in a perpetual state of being offended by something. It's not good. It's not good for them. It's not healthy for them. Are there some people who probably need to straighten up? Yes, but you're right there, Bev. Today we have a lot of struggles out there with people who never had anybody talk turkey to them, and that's not so good. So, and let me tell. All right, actually, this week is flowing perfectly. So what happens if when you don't heed the warning? What happens when somebody cares about you enough to talk to you in the way you need to be talked to and to point out what you need to see? What happens when you don't take the advice? What happens? Let's go on to the next day's reading. I'm on page 33 now. This is where Jesus says, guys, I want you to lay down here or crash here. And I want you to pray with me. I'm going to go over there because I'm going to need a few minutes. I want you to stay awake here and pray. Now, these guys, have had a very emotional night. They know that the emotional quota is high. They've just had a big meal. It's dark and it's quiet. At this point, it's quiet. Yeah, they're no problem. They're gonna be able to stay awake. Heck no, these guys were passed out probably before they even hit the ground. So they were tired and they fell asleep. Jesus, on the other hand, though, was in agony, which I have nothing to compare it to. I've had some bad experiences, and I've had some very difficult illnesses, including when I was sick last summer. When I understand sweating those great drops of blood, I get that because it's bad, and so I've had that experience. But the disciples went to sleep. They were not in agony. Why? Because they were coddled. They were comfortable. They were, not really aware of what was happening. They were outside of it, and they just wanted to be comfortable. And look, I'm not faulting them. I'd had a heck of a hard time staying awake in this scenario, anyways. A number of you who've had a rough day are probably listening to me talking. I'm probably droning you to sleep. Sound of my voice and the cadence and stuff, and it's relaxing. And I do that to a lot of people on Sunday morning. I mean, y'all don't think I see that, do you? But it happens. I get it. I know. And it is what it is. If I fell asleep here leading this live stream, you'd all probably be kind of offended. But when you do it, it's not a big deal. And I'm just ripping on you. It's fine. But that's what happens. They are unaware of this challenge that's coming because they failed to take the warning. I don't. Again, we can debate on exactly what was happening here, but for whatever reason, they were not appreciating the challenge that was coming. Because if they would have, they'd have been equally as terrified as Jesus was. Terrified's the wrong word. They'd been equally in agony as Jesus was of what was about to happen. But the fact that they weren't tells us that they were, kind of comfortable with where things were. That's what happens. Comfort and relaxation becomes the priority. And that's not how it should be, at least not all the time. Now, we can't live in a constant state of, agony as Jesus is here. Clearly, that's not healthy either. But there comes a time and some seasons in life and some situations come along where we got to be on our toes. We got to have our game face on. And we got to have our big boy pants on as well. And, if you're not ready for that, or you haven't been prepared for that, like Peter had been, you fall asleep like Peter does here. Peter, who was, I'm ready to die, is like 5 minutes from being asleep. So it does make one wonder. And it's interesting at what point Peter started to realize, I am really screwing this up. He is so dedicated, so ready, so willing, so able. Not so much of that, I guess. That, Jesus asked him, okay, Peter, if you're ready, I need you to do one thing. I need you to pray with me while I'm going to, go over there and have a minute to myself. And Peter couldn't even last that minute. Jesus, if he was that upset, weeping and crying and sweating that hard, the disciples have to be off to the side going, man, what is happening here? But even that, their friend in agony wasn't enough to motivate them to stay awake. So that's a very interesting thing, and we've all been there. So, all right, let's flip over to page 34. Let's see here. I want to talk about this little equation, and if you've got your book there, you'll see I underlined it in my comment down there. This is where, so Peter went from I'm ready to die to I'm ready to sleep to I'm ready to attack that quickly. So they just been asleep. Jesus says, look, let's pray. Yep, never mind, they're here. That's it. So as soon as they come up there and Judas betrays Jesus with the kiss, and Peter apparently, we don't know if it was Peter. The Gospel of John tells us that Peter is the one who attacked the the high priest assistant. It was, John tells us it was Peter. Luke doesn't mention that, but there's no reason to think it wasn't. So Peter decided to attack and lopped off his ear, which I think probably smarted a little. And look at me here. Okay, you see me here. Look at this area. You got here, and you got the shoulder. How in the heck? How? I don't know how you do that. I'm not ever been in a sword fight, so maybe it's easier than I think. But to get this and not get the neck or the face or the head or the shoulder, but get the ear, I've got to be honest with you. I'm pretty impressed with that. It almost makes me wonder if he didn't attack from behind him. Because it seems like me, if he has come from behind him and swung from the side and got the ear, that actually makes more sense, because you'd think if, we're here in the dark and I guess got a couple lanterns, so it's not real well lit. And they're like, well, this is Jesus, the one we're going to arrest, and all of the controversy. I mean, everybody's aware of what's going on. If somebody comes up toward my head in an attack motion, I'm going to pull back, which makes me think the only reason Peter was able to get just his ear was either one of the luckiest sword swings ever in the history of the world, didn't go right to the guy's head, or Peter attacked from behind, the guy never saw it coming. Again, we don't know. Or maybe he had really big ears, Matt. Maybe it was Dumbo. I mean, who knows? But that's a pretty lucky swing to just get the ear. And Luke does contain the detail that Jesus grabbed the guy and healed him. And I made mention that if you've ever seen the movie The Passion of the Christ, this scene is portrayed masterfully in that movie. I have a lot of problems with some of the things that happened in that movie, but this scene was great. Where the guy's just standing there, or he's actually kneeling, and they drag Jesus off, and they're like, "Hey, Malchus, you coming?" He's like, "I need a minute," which I can see that, because the guy's got to be covered in blood still. It doesn't say anything. Jesus cleaned his robe. He just put his ear back, so now he's got blood all over everything, and a whole ear now. I'm sure he was grateful for that, but that had to be quite an experience. To the point that I'm half surprised that Malchus didn't say, cut this guy a break, but he didn't. But to those of you who have the book, you'll see I underlined an equation down there in my thing where I said lack of preparation plus emotional response plus great fear equals nearly guaranteed failure. Anybody got a comment on that? Agree or disagree? Lack of preparation plus emotional response plus great fear equals nearly guaranteed failure. Agree or disagree? Lack of preparation plus emotional response plus great fear equals nearly guaranteed failure. Agree or disagree? All right, I'm getting quite a few agrees. So the question now becomes, thank you, Cheryl and Jack. It is a good reminder to all of us, because there are certain parts of this that we can control. Being emotional, we cannot control, but making emotional responses, we absolutely can control. Being afraid, we can't control whether or not we're afraid, but we can control whether we're prepared. These guys had a chance to be prepared. Jesus had been telling them this was coming. Earlier in the evening, he said, this is now going to be a memorial dinner for me, and you can only have a memorial dinner if somebody's dead. And then he says, well, let's sit down and pray. Well, they didn't do that. And all this time that they could have been, preparing, they were fighting about who was the greatest. So clearly they were completely unprepared for this. And then when the time came, Peter swung the sword. So we can control this part, and we can take control of what goes on here. We cannot control everything that happens, but this equation we can control. We can make sure that we're saying the prayers. We can make sure that even if we feel really, really emotional, that we don't respond emotionally, because that's generally not a good thing. It leads us in a poor direction. We can be afraid, But that fear, it doesn't need to be a motivating factor in what we do. Because again, unless the fear factor is jump out of the way of that thing that's about to fall on you, that doesn't motivate us to do anything good or wholesome or healthy or uplifting. And that's what happened here. Peter was unprepared. He was, kind of woke out of his sleep, which, that's not the best time to be making decisions anyways. He went from, I'm dozing off, which clearly I'm comfortable, to now I'm scared, to responding in the first way I could think of, which is to swing a sword at some guy's head and lop off his ear. Probably not good. So the moral of this part of the story is all along, Jesus is trying to be preparing them. I mean, even prior to the Last Supper, he was trying to get them ready. He was trying to get them where they needed to be. And it just didn't take. And that's something that we have control over. So I look at this day's reading and these comments as sort of a warning is when you get far enough down the road and you haven't done the work, this is what's going to happen is you're going to make an error. And Peter made an error that darn near cost the guy's ear. And let's be honest, darn near cost the guy's life. And that's not where we are. So we had all these things happen. Do this in remembrance of me. Argument, who is the greatest? Peter says, I'm ready to lay down my life. Jesus says, no, you're not. Jesus says, will you guys pray with me? They all fall asleep. To the soldiers show up. Peter doesn't know what he's doing, in great Peter fashion. He responds before he takes time to think it through. And then we get to the page 35, the last reading reading from yesterday. It says Jesus is in the courtyard. He's followed at a safe distance. And suddenly somebody goes, don't I know you? Weren't you one of the... No, it wasn't me, No, I don't know who the guy is. And Jesus who, And at that last denial, the rooster crows. And it says here that Jesus turned and looked at Peter. Now, I don't know how exactly. I don't know. Again, I know the Passion of the Christ has a portrayal of this that was pretty powerful, actually. But I don't know exactly how this happened. All right. How was Jesus, in for trial, was able to go like, turn and look at Peter? I don't know. But somehow, and it could have been inside of Peter, could have been in his heart that he felt Jesus. I don't want to say condemning look because I don't mean that, but very disappointed or very, the way that none of us want our mentors to look at us ever. That's the way, in Peter's mind, that's the way Jesus looked at Peter. Because Jesus kept saying, boy, I was telling you all the time it was going to happen that way. I've been telling you. I tried to warn you. You want to listen. I asked you to pray. You fell asleep. And I asked you to remember me. And you decided to argue about who was the greatest instead. Now here we are, Peter. And it says then, once Peter realized what had happened, after everything else, he apparently didn't get it. Now he gets it. And verse 62, and here's going to be my question for you. And Peter left the courtyard, weeping bitterly. My question is, why? Why did he leave weeping bitterly? Everything that had happened this night. Why did Peter leave the courtyard weeping? I'd love your opinion on that. Somebody jump in the comments and tell me, why did Peter leave weeping? Why was Peter weeping when he left? Because this is the moment. This is the moment that makes the difference for Peter. This I would contend the reason we have Apostle Peter is not because he was a fisherman, not because he ran into Jesus, not because Jesus healed his mother-in-law, not because Peter witnessed all the stuff that happened, not because Jesus was there to receive, or Peter was there to receive communion. None of that. I say we know Apostle Peter because of this moment. I say his weeping bitterly was Peter finally understanding. And what a terrible moment that must have been. To finally realize what had just happened. Let's see. Guilt from Bev. Ashamed of himself, same as guilt. Yep. Disappointed he failed. Disappointment again, same as guilt. Amy says guilt. Jack says, finally realized what Jesus had said and what Peter had done, which produced guilt. Guilt. Eric, I see what you got there. Matt says, knew him better than he knew himself, which is true. It's exactly right. And that can't be a good moment either, because we want, people that we're trying to impress, people we're trying to build up, we want them to be proud of us, of course. And, that's not what happened. So, or not, it's like, I'm trying to be a good student to my mentor, and he knew what a screw up I was. And that can't be a good moment. Susan says he'll spend the rest of his life making up for what he did. He's probably feeling that. Probably feeling that pretty hard, actually. And because he knows that, like I said, everything that Jesus had said about him was correct. He didn't want it to be correct. He probably actively fought against, the assertion. At the end of the day, it was what it was. So Mike agrees. Good. Yep. And Tom and Marge agree too. Yep. I say this, of everything that happened, it almost feels weird to say this. This is Peter's conversion. It's this moment. Now, spoiler alert, ain't quite done with the story yet. The grand finale of the Gospels is about as good as a grand finale can get. But this is the moment that I think this is the moment that Peter gets it. Because Peter becomes an entirely different person from what we see going forward from here. And I know we got one more reading to do, today's reading, but and we're going to get a little bit of the crucifixion here, which Peter clearly was not present for. But you can't have a Lenten study without this next passage. But what we're going to see starting next week, though, is Peter's different. I say, of everything that happened, everything he witnessed, everything he was a part of, this is the moment that Peter became the rock, and he was weeping when he did it. Let that sink in for a second. Wasn't walking on water. Wasn't all the time hearing Jesus preach, teach, heal and do miracles and all that. Wasn't any of that. Calming the storm with his voice. Teaching the parable, wasn't any of that. Wasn't seeing his mother-in-law get up off her deathbed and go back to health. Wasn't that. It was the moment that Peter realized what he was in for, and the weeping was the guilt and the shame and the old life coming out. And I don't know if any of you have ever been there. I've been there myself, and I have been there with people who've been there a whole bunch of times. And that is a moment when suddenly you realize, things are truly going to be different now. We're no longer talking the talk. Now we're walking the walk. And that really makes a difference. Now, all right, let's go on to the last day and talk about this for just a second and kind of wrap up here tonight. How many of you had your opinion changed on the word today? By this reading? How many of you had your opinion of the word today changed by reading this and my comment today? If you got the book, take a quick look. How many of you, your new favorite word is today? Anybody? Anybody out there become a big fan of the word today based on this reading? Anybody? Oh, this lag is killing me. I know you all are typing, so. Anybody have your opinion of the word today changed by this reading? All right, I'm going to keep going, but I'm going to wait for you. Hopefully you guys will get in here. This is Good Friday that we're reading about in this day's reading. And Luke's gospel is the only one where the other criminals who were arrested with him were speak to him. Okay, this is the only place where they have a conversation. The other gospels, they don't speak. And I find this one to be interesting because, and I think I mentioned this last week with the cleansing of the temple, that, you know, history says that these guys were actually arrested at the temple fight. So they were arrested there for picking up the coins off the floor that Jesus kicked over. So I mean, they knew who Jesus was, and so they were there. And the one thief says, "You know, why don't you get us down?" Well, it makes sense if Jesus had been in cahoots with these guys, that they would say, "Hey, dude, you know, we're the ones who are kind of helping you out on this. If you want to get out of here, why don't you do that and take us with you?" I mean, it makes sense that these guys would at least recognize the guy with them as a fellow thief, even though Jesus had no interest in any of the money. But it would make sense for him to say, "Hey, you know, we were kind of in it together then. How about now?" And so that kind of makes sense. But anyways, Jesus, you know, the other guy says, "Look, leave him alone. You know, we were actually guilty. He wasn't," which does put a little spin on the temple fight, actually, because the one guy's saying, "Look, we were the ones stealing stuff. He was the one making a statement." You know, it does kind of make sense. But you know, and basically the guy says, "Look, just we if you would, if it's not too much trouble, when you come into your kingdom, would you please remember me?" And Jesus says, "Of course I will. Of course I will." You know, today things are going to get a lot better for you guys. Today I'm gonna show you the way to a place that you're not going to get to any other way than if I show you how to get there. What an amazing thing. I'm going to do that today. You know, no purgatory like our Catholic sisters and brothers says. You know, nothing like that. I'm closing the door on that forever, and giving you a chance to step into a way better place than this. Now, at that moment, hanging on the cross to say we're going to a better place, I mean, it doesn't sound like, you know, there's a lot of places that would be better than that. But Jesus says, "Yep, today, today, you're going to get there." And I give that word today. I give that to all of you who are here tonight, who have lost loved ones, and you're wondering where they are. I give you that word today. What a beautiful word it is, to have that word today to speak to those situations, for those people that we miss. You know, we may be missing them. Obviously, we are missing them. God is not, because the same day, that day, they turned that corner. And what a blessing it is to know that. Today is a great word. And I'm just very happy to be able to share that with you. So, next funeral you go to, as you're, you know, there with the family, or whatever the situation happens to be, take that word today with you, because that does change things. So, all right. Well, we have come to the end of tonight's study. I know we got a few more people here than we had earlier. Next week's going to be our last week for live stream. We're going to take a little hiatus over the summer, and there's the chime. We're going to take a little hiatus over the summer and kind of let things settle. If we will, the live streams will be back on a regular schedule in the next winter. And I will also say that there are going to be some live streams over the summer. I will watch the weather. And if it's going to be raining or something where you can't be outside, I'll send out a text. So if you're not on my text ring, get on my text ring. If you don't get my weekly texts about the study, if you're not getting those, make sure you start getting them. And I will let you know that a live stream is coming up on a Wednesday night when I know the weather's going to be bad. And you guys then can jump in and we'll just yuck it up, you know, whatever we're going to do. I'll come up with a random topic or something. But we will be here next week. Next week, we're going to have a little party to kind of celebrate having the live streams. I'm going to give away some prizes and some different things. I'll have some goofy stuff here to give away, and we're just going to have fun. We'll certainly look at the study, and we'll kind of work our way through that. And around 8:30, we'll get on and just have a little fun. Just you know, answer some questions or give some stuff away, and you know, whatever we want to do. So. Just have a good time, because I really, really, really appreciate those of you who are still a part of these live streams and have been for so long. And um, I hope you've enjoyed them, and I certainly hope they've been meaningful to you. So, Marge, what you trying to say here? Sounds like, and it sounds. I mean, keep going, girl. You're gonna get it. So, but all right. Anybody got any last comments or any questions or anything for the good of the order here this evening? You almost got it there, Marge. Sounds like a good time. I think that's what you're trying to say. So, yeah. Thanks, Eric. And like I said, we'll have a few live streams over the summer when I know the weather's going to be bad, and then we'll get a study of some kind next winter, probably after the time change and it starts getting dark at 4 o'clock. We'll come back. So, now you're welcome, Amy. All right. Anybody else got anything here tonight? Anything you want to share? You're welcome, Dave and Amy. Thanks for being here. All right, guys. Well, I certainly appreciate you coming out here. There. Yeah. All right. Everybody give a what up to Marge. She finally got it out. I'm so proud of you, Marge. I never doubted you for a second. And all right, everybody give a what up to Marge for finally getting those keys punched in the right order. So, and well, thanks, Bev. I'm glad you're enjoying it, and glad to have you here. Oh, thank you, Amy. Please click the like button on this video if you don't mind. That makes us more relevant to the YouTube search engine. It also helps the church's channel get a little more publicity. So if you like this video before you go, I would appreciate it. So, Eric, you're welcome. Thanks for being here. You're welcome too, Teresa. Appreciate it. All right. Well, everybody, I think. Thanks, Skylar. We'll come back next week. Maybe you can win a prize, which you probably will, because I imagine everybody's going to win a prize before it's over. So, yep. I appreciate you all being here. I love you all very much. Thank you for being a part of this tonight. I'm just so honored that you take time out of your busy lives to share a little bit here with me. And hope you all have a great evening, get some good sleep. But before you go and do that, there's one little thing I need you to do for me. And that is go wash your hands. Have a good evening, everybody.